Hello everybody, good evening, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news as a shocking truth appears for Ruben Amorim and we are out of cash. A very interesting article from the BBC a few weeks ago. We need to revisit this because people, myself included, are sort of saying, why aren't we doing things? But the answer is, we didn't win the Europa League. We had a terrible season. We're in massive amounts of debt. We actually need to sell to buy. We may have Cunha, we may have Mbeumo, we may be able to spend up to £100 million, but we're not going to do that if we don't get players out of the door. The budget of £100 million isn't just there to spend. You've got to do things for that to be achievable. Amorim warned us about this on multiple occasions. I will read out what this article said. It's a very harsh reminder of the realities of where we are. It won't prevent us getting Mbeumo, but it might prevent us doing anything else for quite a while. Also, incredible questions I need to get into you. We've been linked to a player from Belgium, by the way. We'll be talking about that. Apparently he's ready to snub us. We'll talk about him. But also, Onana. I'm hearing people say, let's keep Onana in goal this season. Would you do that? Would you do that? Would you really do that? What do you think about the striker situation? I want to talk about that. Would you still go for Gyokeres? A lot of people are saying no, they don't want him. Where would you go? Also, we've got a bit on Sancho and Juventus. The price has come down. It's halved in a couple of hours if you watch the earlier show. Where's Garnacho going to go and what are we going to do in that midfield? Excuse me, what are we going to do in that midfield? I'm disgusted with myself there, burping half the way through. Lots to get into on the show, and it's going to be a very interactive show as well. But before I do all of that, I don't know why this isn't working. It should be there. Oh, gremlins in the system. Let me just get this working. We're sponsored by Manscaped on the show tonight, basically. That's what I was going. Oh, it's here. Hello, Manscaped. But late, but what an entrance. We're sponsored by Manscaped on the show. So what that means is you've got things like the beard trimmer for your beard, 20 different lengths on that. The weed whacker for up the nose. The handyman for a nice tidy up. And if I can find it in here somewhere, where are you? The star of the show's gone hiding. I didn't use it, did I? Oh, no, here it is. The lawnmower here in my hand. Fantastic products. Can you hear that? Fantastic. That's for around your bit, you know, penis. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. Fantastic products delivered to your door. I've been using them for years. They really are fantastic. You get free delivery wherever you live with the code TUS15. But on top of that, you get 15% discount and free delivery with the code TUS15. So you can have a shave, you can have tidy things up down there, up there. Absolutely got you covered. Trusted by millions of men worldwide. Precision engineering for your family jewels. Check out Manscaped, who are sponsoring the show tonight. You won't regret it. Thank you very much to Manscaped. Remember, the code is TUS15. You can go through the link in the description or you can scan the QR code. Thank you very much to them for that. Now, I do want to talk about this Ardon Jashari, who is actually Belgium's Young Player of the Year. AC Milan have made a move for him. He's a midfielder. I don't know a lot about him, but apparently he's not keen on us, but we are keen on him. It's sort of a good thing to talk about in a couple of minutes because we can't buy him without selling players. We can't do it. So I want to start off with this because I feel like it's been forgotten that we are broke and there is a shocking transfer truth. This article was written more or less straight after the Europa League final on the 22nd of May by Simon Stone, the chief news reporter for the BBC. Now, this is not a journalist that goes out there linking us to transfers. This is a journalist in the old school way who, you know, speaks to the club, finds things out. This is really important. There's two big paragraphs here that will explain to you what's going on and the warning sign there. There are a few factors at play that, well, this was from the 22nd of May, by the way, a month ago. It's now the 24th of June. Man United say funds will be available, but what does that mean? There are a few factors at play. So Jim Radcliffe outlined in March that they owe £272 million in outstanding transfer fees, and a significant percentage of which, £156 million, is due this summer. That's terrifying. That is that's money. People start going, we've got loads of money. We've got £100 million. We can spend £200 million. There you go. You know, we owe £156 million in transfers from players we've already bought this summer. But it also goes on to say, the unquantifiable bit is this: the better and faster United sell, the more flexibility they will have to buy. The longer the summer goes on without selling, the less easier it will become to strike deals for the right price, and the potential for mistakes grow. It's almost like a vision of the future. So basically, if we'd gone into this summer transfer window a la Liverpool, sold quickly, we'd have been in a stronger position to be more flexible on what we're offering. But the longer we take to sell, the less easy it becomes to strike deals at the right price, and the potential for mistakes grow. Why is that? Because everybody knows we need to sell to buy, and the more panicked we could become about selling, the more desperate we will become about buying. What are we doing at the moment? We're literally in a deal with Mbeumo that's been going on for 3 weeks and it isn't over. Now, the report tonight is that Mbeumo's offer, Brentford's offer, is 55 million up front with 5 million in add-ons. Brentford are apparently negotiating those add-ons to be more achievable. So we've gone up, factually, from 45 million plus 10 to 55 million plus 5. So Brentford, in the space of 2 weeks, have took us up by 10 million. And this is exactly what that article was talking about before. That if we can't sell quick, we're not in a position to be strong in the window. We're sort of closing the door on the ability to negotiate because as we become more and more desperate later on in the window. Hence, mistakes can start to happen. So I think it's really important to remember what Ruben Amorim said on more than one occasion before the Europa League final and afterwards. It's going to be very challenging. I think it's important to remember that it's the 24th of June and we've only bought Cunha. I think it's important to remember that we can spend and buy a striker, a goalkeeper, another right back, another midfielder. All of those things can happen, but they can't happen if we don't sell. We've already seen this movie last summer. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the Glazers, will not buy before they sell. Some clubs will. Some clubs will go, I'm going to buy that player because I know that player is going to get sold by August the 31st. Man United won't. And we proved this before. We wouldn't buy Agate until we got rid of McTominay. We wouldn't buy De Ligt and Mazraoui until we got rid of Wan-Bissaka. We're not going to change. So where we are at the moment, the importance of Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Garnacho, Onana, Anthony, and any other player we're trying to sell is pivotal to our summer transfer window. So I think it's a harsh reminder of the reality of the situation, is that there is this eagerness, panic, frustration in the United fan base, quite rightly, that we need to be doing what Liverpool are doing. We need to do what Man City are doing. We need to do what Chelsea are doing. We need to be buying, working, and progressing deals in and out in June. The reality is we're not. The only deal we're progressing is Mbeumo. There is no progression on the deals that matter out of the club, and there is no negotiations on a striker or a goalkeeper at this moment in time. And hence, you go back to that article in the BBC Sports section a month ago, and what does it say? Exactly that. If Manchester United can move quickly on sales, they can be more efficient and negotiate good deals. But the longer that takes, the more the panic will set in and the more problematic it becomes. And unfortunately, we are taking our time and we are sort of over a barrel. And I think Brentford, to be fair, I'm sure when Mbeumo signs, I'm going to be very excited. You're going to be very excited. But if I said to you, who's come out of this deal better? Man United offered 45 plus 10. They've now offered 55 plus 5. Who's had the bigger swing there? 45 million up front and 10 million in add-ons. It's now 55 million up front and 5 million in add-ons. Brentford. They've turned it around. And that's probably because they're willing to wait all summer if we don't want to. May 22nd, United stock was $13.29. Now it's at $19.26 as Mr. Polford. Don't think that really makes a massive amount of difference, mate. Amorim credibility is at stake here. He clearly said that we do not need to sell Bruno to fund players this summer during the Asia tour. I knew somebody was going to mention Bruno. If we'd sold Bruno Fernandes, there would have been a problem because everybody would have known how much money we've got, but we'd be able to buy players. There's no point arguing about the Bruno thing. I can't argue about it. If we'd done that deal, he'd be playing in the Club World Cup. We'd have the 100 million. There was no way that deal with Al-Hilal was going to go on into July. It would have been done that week because they wanted him for the Club World Cup. So we'd have had the £100 million at the start of June and would be a lot better negotiating. But the club decided they didn't want to do that. You do have to respect it. Amorim didn't want to do it. Is it possible that United goes bankrupt? No, Bartik, we're not talking about bankruptcy. We're not talking about that. We're just talking about the impact on the summer transfer window, and the inability to sell players is hurting us. Apollo deal and funds from playing in Asia, says Kevin. But Kevin, I haven't got the time or patience to detail absolutely everything. You can pull an Apollo deal out your arse and get us all excited. You can talk about funds from playing in Asia, but we've got to pay £150 million in transfer fees. I can't detail to you, Kevin, when you say, well, there's 10 million coming in from that. That 10 million might have been swallowed up already, you know? So there we go. Bill, I think you're a pointless individual and you're blocked. I could be wrong, but didn't Sir Jim Radcliffe say it was 89 million on existing payment? I thought it was 89, to be fair. I mean, still a lot of money. Would you rather get target number 1 for each position in August or get target... Oh, God. You know what? I am a human being. I'm not an AI robot yet. I mean, sometimes I read a comment and the life drains out of me. Would I rather go for option 1 signings in August or go for option 2 or 3 in July? I mean, in what world is that actually going to happen? Would you rather eat your dog's dinner for tea or eat your cat's? I mean, I'm absolutely trying to talk about relevant stuff, to be honest. Would you rather... I mean, that's Shawshank. Thank you very much. Leon relegated means minus 15 points taken from Everton. Again, what's that got to do with anything? If we are broke as a club, look at who caused it, Ineos. Why did you rescue them? Appointments of people who couldn't organise a picnic in a supermarket, says Mike. Leon have been relegated. Do they have targets for us, says GSS. Well, Cherky, but he's already gone. They've just been relegated due to their debt positioning, says Smoggy. And the Beast says, it defeats the point of the pre-season if we're going to be training with players who aren't even relevant to next season. We need to sell surplus ASAP. And Kunku for Garnacho would be desperate, says Peter Simmons. And wonder whether Amorim would have joined us if he knew the reality of what the club is. Bet we sold him a vision that can't exist and will live off that, says Lunder. Thank you very much. Okay, hi Mark. Saw a couple of times live. Just here we go. I want to talk about this very, very quickly. So, Ardon Jashari, who plays for Club Bruges. He's 22. He was Young Player of the Year in Belgium last year. But the story that's coming out, I'd never even heard that we'd been linked to him. Apparently, Man United really like him. AC Milan have now kickstarted the bidding process for the Swiss international. They want to pay around 25.6 million. Milan want Club Bruges want about 34 million, 40 million euros. Man City were looking at him before they went for Reinders from Milan. They're looking for him as the replacement for him. United have apparently expressed an interest in the last few weeks, but Jashari is yet to have warmed to a move to Old Trafford, having also politely rejected advances from both Fulham and West Ham. So a midfield option. I don't know loads about him. I mean, I presume he is, well, I know enough that he's sort of box-to-box holding midfielder type, so he wouldn't be a number 10. He'd certainly play in the pivot, and I certainly think that Amorim would want a player in that position. And it is interesting, you know, he is an interesting target, but what have we just been talking about? We can't get the Mbermo deal done. We're not about to go and get that deal done. We're struggling to find money to do deals at the moment. We spoke about Gyokeres a couple of weeks ago, and United are interested. But privately, they're quite happy that there is a delay in Arsenal choosing what they want to do, because Man United wouldn't be in a position to go and buy Gyokeres anyway at the moment because they don't have the funds to do it. United's big fear, and we saw it last summer as well, is they do not want to go out and buy this midfielder, Gyokeres, and Mbermo and Cunha. They don't want to go and do it, even though they could do it, on projections of deals that they're going to do later in the window. So they don't want to be paying 4 new players' wages whilst they're still playing Garnacho, Rashford, Sancho, Anthony, Casemiro wages. They want, basically how it works is they want to take McTominay off the roster before they bring Ugarte in. Because even though McTominay wasn't on massive money, it's still not paying 2 players' wages. So if you wanted to bring this lad in from Club Brugge, you're not going to bring him in until Casemiro's gone, because they'll go, well, we're not going to give him 100 grand a week while we're still playing Casemiro 300 grand a week. What if he doesn't go to Saudi? So rightly or wrongly, this is the way United operate. It's get the player out before you get the player in. That is not going to help us grow as a football club, unfortunately, because that's going to prevent Amorim having players in for pre-season. It's also going to mean that you miss out on players as well too. As a Club Brugge sup, if you get Jashari, you've got an amazing player. Dominated against Atalanta, best player I've seen at Brugge since Perisic, says Dries. Sounds interesting. I don't know a lot about him, but I certainly don't think we're going to get to know a lot about him unless we can move a midfielder on. Look. Warren says crazy stuff from the owners. Is it crazy? If I ran a football club and the transfer window's open till August, and let's say Gyokeres becomes available, I'm going to grab him now. I am not going to listen to my owner who says, we need to get rid of Rasmus before we do that. I'd say, piss off. This is the opportunity. We grab it. When we've got him, it will be easier to sell Rasmus anyway because he'll want to go. We can't sell the player before we get the player in. This is exactly the problem we've got with Onana. We're saying to Onana, can you please leave so we can buy a replacement? And Onana's going, what happens if I don't leave? We can't buy a replacement. We've got to put you in goal. So I stay number 1 at Man United. Yeah, can you please leave? Fuck off. What you do is you buy Martinez or you buy Costa and you say to Onana, you're never playing again. You're never playing again. You might earn 120 grand a week, but you're never playing again. Oh, I think I'll go now. I think I better leave right now before I fall any deeper. I think I better leave right now. Yeah, you better leave right now before you fall any deeper because you'll be 3rd choice in a minute because Tom Heaton's just been promoted to reserve goalkeeper. Have that and get out. So, yeah, I think that this is where we go wrong. I understand why we do it. I don't agree with why we do it. And it's not speculative, as I said. You know, I saw somebody in the chat saying, oh, you don't know what you're on about. I do know what I'm on about, and most of the chat know what we're on about. We already know this because we've seen it before. Is everybody having a good time? Is everybody having a good transfer window? No, neither am I. We're not having a good transfer window, are we? Why aren't we having a good transfer window, everybody? Why can Man City and Liverpool buy players in June, but we can't? Because we're broke, Mark. We've got to wait till July the 1st. Yeah, we have. Do you think on July the 1st we're going to buy all the players? No. Why? Because we want to sell to buy first. Exactly. You saw it last year, didn't you? Yeah. We're not going to avalanche signings on July the 1st, are we? No. Why? Because we want to sell before we buy. Why? Because that's what we do at Man United. We're broke and we won't do anything till we've sold players. That's what we're going to do. That's why the pre-season's going to get absolutely wrecked. That's why you're going to see on pre-season shitty players with bad attitudes turning up to Carrington, and that's why you're going to see new signings signing probably not ready to play against Arsenal again, because we have this tactic from the top of the football club where we focus on the spreadsheets and not on the field of play. But there will be football clubs out there that would go, okay, we need a goalkeeper, get him in. What about Onana? We'll sort him out in a minute. We need a striker, let's get him in. What about Rasmus? What about Xerxes? We'll sort that out afterwards. Get the striker in. Do we need a striker? Yeah, get the fucking striker. Do we need a goalkeeper? Yeah, get the goalkeeper. But United don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. We really need Gyokeres. I want to ask you a couple of questions, actually. So just on Ardon Jashari, I really do like the sound of him based on that super chat. I mean, that's it. I'm sold. I don't know anything about him. I don't. It's very rare, but I will always be honest. It's not rare that I'm honest. It's very rare that I don't know much about a player. I genuinely don't know anything about him. I can't even remember watching him play. Now, somebody will say you literally did a watch along, but I can't remember. I had the opportunity to go over to Club Brugge. They invited me over to go and watch a Champions League game, but it just clashed. So I would have known who he was, but I don't know who he is. So if he is a target for Man United, I like the sounds of it. 22 years of age, you know, looks like he'd fit into what we want. I quite like the fact that he's not sure about the project at Man United. That means, to me, that's not... Some people would say, well, if you don't want to come here, we don't want him. I actually quite like the fact that he's got his head screwed on at 22 and knows that Man United might be a shit move for his career. I quite like that he'd need convincing. Do I think we're going to do it? No, because we haven't got the money to do it. So if AC Milan are moving on him, they've got the money because they've sold Reinders to Man City. So many clubs have sold players as well. Lyon sold Cherki. AC Milan, as we just mentioned, sold their midfielder to Manchester City. Leverkusen have sold 2 players to Liverpool. Bournemouth are going to sell Gyokeres. They've sold Hulsen. So it's not the... I see people coming out with some complete nonsense that we can't sell players till July the 1st. I can give you a massive list. Ipswich have sold a player. Loads of players have sold... So loads of clubs have sold players. It's the number one thing we need to do. Sell so we can buy. And I'll read it back to you again. Exactly the most important thing out of that whole article. The better and faster United sell, the more flexible they will... Sorry, I'll read this properly. The better and faster United can sell players this summer transfer window, the more flexibility they will have to buy. The longer it takes for them to sell players, the less easy it becomes to do deals at the right price, and the potential for mistakes grows, which is exactly what we're seeing. We haven't sold quick enough again because we're not very good at it. And I think that's the big problem that we face. But look, let me talk to you about the... So I'd like that Jashari deal to happen, but you've got to sell first. And Casemiro, as per Ben Jacobs today, would be a deal that... Every deal... See, I'm sort of sat here... Who are we going to sell? Who are we actually going to sell? We need to sell to buy after Mbeumo. And who are we selling? Who the hell are we selling? Casemiro, the update is if he goes to Saudi, it'll be later in the window. Garnacho, we want a price that no one's going to pay. Rashford, we're looking for money that no one's going to pay. Sancho, we don't really make any money. We break even. Anthony, we don't really make any money, we break even. Onana won't go. So who is it we're actually going to sell to get money in? As somebody said, if we'd sold Bruno, at least we'd have £100 million in our pocket. I want to talk to you about the striker. I've got a couple of questions, actually. First one I want to say is, and I have to run a poll on this. I have to run a poll on this because I don't actually believe it. Would you be okay with keeping Onana another year? Yes or no? Would you be okay with it? I have been sent screenshots today of people who are basically saying, I'm not that bothered about keeping Onana for another year. There's more important areas to focus on. I'd keep him for another year. And I sort of went like, you know what? We've had some hot weather in the UK. Have these people forgot to put a hat on and add sunstroke? But that doesn't account for people outside the UK. And not everybody's fallen over and banged their head and suffering with amnesia. This is incredible to me. It's not, I'd prefer another goalkeeper. He's absolutely Calamity James. We used to have Calamity Jones at the back. We've now got Calamity James. I mean, I'd rather have Peter Andre in goal than Andre Onana. And that's saying something. Because over the 2 years, he's been an absolute disaster. His confidence is on the floor. I don't think, look, it's not impossible. It's always good to play devil's advocate. He's not as useless as people think. But he has been pretty useless. And it's not beyond the realms of possibility that he could have an amazing season. But would you take that? Why would you take that risk? What are the chances that next season he's amazing? I would say less than 5%. What are the chances that he makes mistakes again? I would say over 70%. So if Man United go, we're going to stick with Onana, and then he makes mistakes, whose fault is it? It's not Onana's fault. He just wants to live the dream at Man United. It's Amorim's fault. It's the club's fault. So I can't get on board with let's give him another year. We've had 2. I think after 2 years, you can make your mind up on anybody. 2 years in a football club is the time. It was the same I said about Anthony. Obviously, people have made their mind up about Rasmus, Onana, Mason Mount, you know, people in the past. 2 years is enough. And I just think that it's time. We have, I'm not saying he won't be our goalkeeper next season. And if he is, I hope he's bloody brilliant. But what I'm saying is, if I'm given the choice now as to whether I'd think, you know, let's just give it another go. No, let's not give it another go. We've had 2 years of this. It's very obvious that he has limitations for a league like this. You know, he's playing volleyball. You just when you think it's going to go out of danger, he's there, palming it back in. No, not for me. But it's crazy that some people actually think they'd keep him in. We want to sell to buy, but we can't sell. This club, says Michael. We really need Gyokeres. If we hang about like a bad smell and wait, we won't get any good strikers, says Mike. And now we're going to add more to it with striker and goalkeeper add-ons, says Barry. As a club, done that from Dries. Thank you very much. Very good comment there on Jashari. Hi, Mark. I've seen Jashari a couple of times live in Bruges. High IQ, great on the ball, great transitions and non-stop running. Would love him. Love your content. It sounds great to me, forever. I mean, look, one of the positives of tonight is we've had 2 people talk about this Jashari saying he'd be a really good signing. I like the sound of him. I don't know anything about him. But we can't get him unless we sell somebody. Karnaseki, goalkeeper, 40 million. Douglas Luiz, centre midfield, 21 million. Gyokeres to be confirmed would be the dream first window. Thank you very much. Still got a sell to buy. 1 Inch Wonder says, I can't take another season with Rasmus. Please, no. Thank you very much for that. I mean, just talking about the striker, it's interesting because 82% of you wouldn't go anywhere near Onana for another season. And look, I think there's a chance he might be our goalkeeper next year. We made this very clear from our source back in March that Amorim wants to replace him. Wilcox wants to replace him. But we can't sell, so we can't replace. And it's so sad. It's so sad because it's not an Ineos problem. It's actually a Glazer problem. Give me some examples over the years where this has happened. I mean, one that comes to mind was Maguire when he was meant to be going to West Ham. And I can't remember who we were going to get. And the deal fell through because we wouldn't pay him off. And Maguire stayed. There's been so many. Rojo, I remember we kept him longer than we should have done. There's been loads and loads. Martial's another one. We've had Lindelof. There's so many players that we haven't got rid of over the years because we don't have the power to get rid of them. And it just doesn't happen that often at many other clubs. They're so good at removing players and we're so bad at it. But on the striker, like, this is a necessity. We cannot go into next season without buying a striker. But it's interesting because where do you all stand on Gyokeres now? Because it's almost like he's gone from being the dream signing to the hated signing. And that worries me a little bit. I just don't know. Well, I suppose we do a poll. It's easy, isn't it? We've got 82% to get rid of Onana. Would you still sign Gyokeres? Yes or no? Because I've seen a lot of people saying, no, don't want him anymore. Absolutely don't want him anymore. Bad attitude, shit player. I'm going to talk about Ndidi in a minute. Thank you, mate. And I think that, to me, it's not changed. Absolutely. God, I'd be over the moon. I'm still running around the garden with my top off if we sign Gyokeres. I'm still really happy if we get that deal done. Beggars can't be choosers. And if you'd said to me at any point last season, Gyokeres is going to be our player next year, I'd have said yes, yes, yes. So I haven't changed. Savage says he can go to Arsenal. And I think, honestly, I respect that. That's what a lot of people are pissed off about. But you know what, Savage? Delap was our first choice. As idiotic as that is, Delap was our first choice. Gyokeres was plan B. So if Gyokeres is our plan B, why can't we be Gyokeres' plan B? You can't have it both ways. We wanted Delap. We would not have bought Gyokeres. I mean, we've got hardly any money. I've heard people say, You never know. If we'd bought Gyokeres, we might have bought... If we'd bought Delap, we might have bought Gyokeres. Oh, yeah. We'd spend £30 million on Delap, and then we'd go and spend another 65 million on another striker. It was never going to be Gyokeres if we'd got Delap, and we wanted Delap. Delap was the priority. Wilcox thought he had it in the bag. So the only reason we're looking at Gyokeres now is because we didn't get our plan A. So I don't really care. Arsenal are better than us. You know, that's not going to get clipped up. Arsenal are better than us. They're much better than us. They've got a better team. They've got a better system. They're run better. They're in the Champions League. They might win the Premier League next year. Arsenal are much better than us. I haven't got a problem with a 27-year-old striker saying, I would choose Arsenal over Man United just because it's better prospects for me. But if Arsenal don't want him and he says, I'll come to Man United now, I don't think he's not going to be motivated. I just think he had a better option. And I haven't got a problem with it. So whether we can still do it or not, wow, that's something completely untangible at the moment. But I 100% still would do it. And 78% of you still would as well. So I agree with Mike JW on that one, certainly. But with regards to the striker, I think the most important thing is, and I'm going to say something here. I'm going to say something here, and for the first time in a long time, I absolutely hope I get bantered, clipped, and laughed at for this. We won't have a new striker in place for the US Tour, and that's terrifying. We won't have a striker for the US Tour. I'm absolutely convinced I'm right. We will not have a new striker for the US Tour, and that is shit. And it needs calling out as shit every single day, because all that's going to happen is that new striker will come in the week before Arsenal in early August, and people will forget because they're like bloody sheep. This happens every bloody year. Oh, we're signing Casemiro. Yeah, after we've lost the first 2 games of the season. Oh, yeah, we're signing De Ligt. Yeah, 2 days before the start of the season. This is not right. And we all get fooled by it because it's a shiny new toy. But this is the summer where we absolutely owe it to our manager and ourselves and this football club to call out the incompetence of the way the club is being run. We cannot just sit there this year and go, we've signed an amazing striker 3 days before Arsenal, will he start? And then when the season goes bad, you've got to go, yet again, we haven't got our manager players in time to be part of the pre-season. And I'm absolutely convinced we're not going to have a striker for the US Tour. I just can't see us having a striker. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm literally going to sit here and say we won't have a striker for the US Tour because I can't see how it's going to happen. And I think that sort of runs the theme of the show where really we're broke and there is a shocking transfer truth. We will not have a striker for the start of the US Tour. Now, somebody tell me when we go on tour. I think I can tell you. BBC, Man United fixtures. Okay, so we play in July. You absolute jokers. They've only listed idiots. They've only listed our Premier League fixtures. Here we go. We play Leeds on the 19th of July, which I believe is a Saturday, and I believe that is 3 weeks on Saturday. We then play on the Friday against... So 4 weeks on Saturday, we're playing West Ham. So we'll fly out probably 4 weeks tomorrow. To the US, we'll fly out 4 weeks tomorrow. No chance. No chance. No chance are we going to have a striker in 4 weeks' time. No way. I want to be wrong. No way. I've played the game. I've done it so often, and so have you. When do Man United go from not even in talks to here we go official in 4 weeks? It's just not going to happen. We're not going to have a striker. And remember, that's 2 weeks. In 4 weeks' time, we go on the tour. There's 2 weeks where we've been in pre-season before that. So we're basically going to start the season with a striker that's not had a pre-season. That's my prediction. I just can't see. I've seen this movie so many times, and it's not a good movie. It's not Hot Fuzz. It's not Heat. It's not Jaws. It's bloody Annie. It's Sir Jim. You know, he's dancing around singing shit songs. Yeah, it's not going to happen, is it? And I think that, somebody said Mateta. It's not going to happen in 4 weeks either. It's not going to happen in 4 weeks. I'm not saying Gyokeres isn't going to happen in 4 weeks. I'm saying we're not going to have a striker in 4 weeks. There's nobody we can negotiate with to get a deal done in 4 weeks. If I knock on the door with Crystal Palace tonight and they say we want 45 million, United are going to go, we'll give you 30 plus add-ons. And then Palace are going to go no. And then United are going to leave it 2 weeks before they offer the next bit. It's just not going to happen. We're not going to have a striker for the tour. It just won't happen. And which case, somebody just said, well, what's the problem with that? I'll tell you what the bloody problem is. You have 2 weeks of pre-season without your striker. You then go on tour for 2 weeks without a striker. And while you're on tour, you get Cunha and hopefully Mbeumo and Ahmad and everybody else working with the striker that's not going to be the striker at the start of the season. Then the striker comes in for the start of the season and there's no relationship. So they've got to learn on the job again. And we replicate every bloody mistake we've made for the last decade. Robbie G says, I know you've said in the past you don't want to hear Cunha and Mbeumo Xerxes, but at this stage, I'd honestly take it. Surely it's a better season. Robbie G, nothing against Xerxes, but if he's our striker next season, we've been absolutely mugged off. That's not buying a striker, is it? That's not buying a striker. That's basically, we've got no money. And it might be the truth. It might happen. It might happen. Gyokeres would be bittersweet on our head, be it. De clap was ours. I don't even know how to say your name, mate, but I don't think you're the best. At least we're not Olympically on broke, Mark. They just got relegated to League 2 due to finances, says Alonso. It's really sad to see Lyon getting knocked out of the French league, really. I can't see us getting a striker at all, says Daz. Wow, it's not impossible. Swap Al Nazir Casemiro for Duran, says Victor. Why do people talk about Duran? He's only been there 4 months. He's not leaving. These problems are rooted in the fact that the Glazers keep looting the coffers to support their rubbish American football team. They need to go, says A. Andrews. No striker for pre-season is criminal. I hear you, Emily. You probably won't get away with it unless we manage to sign Gyokeres, who knows the system back to front. No Gyokeres, then get Mateta or Serbian from Juventus, which is Vlahovic, says Shane. Victor Goodmanson, thank you very much. Welcome to, thank you very much for your super chat. Lee Goldart, how you doing? Well, he says, here's the thing with Onana. He was never a ball-playing goalkeeper, but he is press-resistant. Probably best in the world at it, but teams just stopped pressing him. Simple as that. Ten Hag cocked up, says Lee. Thank you very much for that. Oh, have I read this one? I don't know whether I have. Another one. Jacob says, I'm from Bruges. So we've had 3 vouchers for Jashari here. He says, I'm from Bruges and Jashari is by far the best player I've seen play for us. Silky dribbler, amazing work rate and controls the game so well. He would be great for Manchester United. Done that one as well. Okay, just a couple of other things I wanted to bring in anyway. Sancho. So I did a video at about 5 o'clock today. You might have seen it. Baffled. And the comments couldn't provide me with any answer. So a few reports came in this afternoon about Fenerbahce and Jadon Sancho. And 160 grand a week wages and a £25 million fee for Manchester United. And as I've said, I don't understand how this works because he's taking a wage cut so that Man United can get a transfer fee. When in a year's time, he doesn't need to take a wage cut for the next year. And in a year's time, he won't need a wage cut because he'll be free. So I don't understand why Sancho would do this. Well, a Juventus story's coming in the last half an hour that they are going to pay 12 million for him. So, honestly, unless I get completely stunned, I'm just going to sit and say there is no way that Jadon Sancho on 250 grand a week is going to take a pay cut now to help Man United out. I don't think this is going to happen. I mean, lovely to be wrong, but I don't think it's going to happen. I really, really don't. I did mention about Mbeumo, didn't I? We've offered 55 plus 5, so we're just waiting to finalise it because apparently Brentford don't like the add-ons. So we're paying them 55 million plus 5 in add-ons, that Brentford want the add-ons to be more achievable. I mean, Man United have probably said 5 million if he wins the Ballon d'Or in the same year that Arsenal win the league and Liverpool get relegated, and we'll give you 5 million. They probably want something a little bit realistic in relation to that. Mentioned Jadon Sancho. There was another thing I wanted to bring in that was topical. I've mentioned that, haven't I? Oh, yeah. I'll come back to that in a minute. Taxes are much lower in Turkey, Mark, says Rob Always United. Yeah, but they're not that low. It's not tax-free, is it? You're not going to get 160k up to 250k. But, well, maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe there is something in that. I read earlier that the tax system in Europe was favourable to him. Could be bullshit, says... mate, I don't know how to pronounce your name. You're doing these super chats, and I don't know what it is. I'm just going to call you EE. Why can't we swap Rashford and Garnacho, go to Villa, and United get Martinez and Watkins? In an amazingly world, mate, that's still not possible. Thank you, United Star. Mojo's back in the house. Hope you're doing well. Legend. He says, simple reality. You have cash in your pocket. You walk in anywhere and buy whatever you want. You don't have cash in your pocket. You can't buy what you want. You keep finding ways to and then land up buying the next best thing. Very profound and very true. Thank you very much. Bounty Hunter says the transfer window is going to give us all PTSD, Mark. This is Bounty Hunter. I'll tell you what, it is giving me deja vu. I said this last night. It's just, I think what people forget is that there has never been a transfer window in the last decade where we've given it higher than a 7. And I can't remember what I gave. I mean, you'd be a genius to remember what I gave last year's summer transfer window. But considering I liked the signing of Agate, De Ligt, Mazraoui, Xerxes and Yoro, I still think I only gave it a 4. Maybe a 6. And I know I didn't give it a high scoreline, even though I liked the players, because I remember what I marked it down for. Shit sales, and 4 of the 5 signings came in really late. Like Xerxes, I don't think Xerxes was... I think Xerxes was on the US tour. Was he on the US tour? Did Xerxes go on the US tour, or did he come late? Mazraoui, no. De Ligt, no. Agate, definitely no. So, although I liked the signings, they were all too late. Yoro was on the tour because he got injured straight away. Xerxes was late due to the Euros, so he didn't do it. So, yeah, I gave last summer's transfer window lower than a 6 or lower because the sales were shit and the purchases were too late. And here we are again, like every other year. The sales are non-existent and the purchases are taking too long. And people can say, it's only the 24th of June. But one thing I can tell you with total conviction is that you always, in a transfer window for Man United, can add 4 weeks on. And in the next 4 weeks, the only signing we're going to make is Mbeumo. So take yourself from the 24th of June to the 24th of July and ask yourself, is it good enough to be halfway through pre-season with Mbeumo and Cunha? And that's what I'm saying to you. I can add 4 weeks on from now, because we're not talking to anybody. And it will take us 4 to 6 weeks to do a deal. So, to me, if I'm... And I know everybody can do this. I know some of you watching live, but some of you won't be. What's your prediction for the score out of 10 for this transfer window? Because at the moment, I'm very firmly in the camp of it cannot be any higher than a 6 again. I can't see how we pull off a 7 or an 8. I can't see from this point how it's any better than 6. I like Cunha. I like Mbeumo. But I think the score's going to get knocked down by late sales and late purchases again. And I have to say, the summer was never about Cunha or Mbeumo. There was 2 things about this summer transfer window that had to be right. Amorim needed a pre-season with his players. And we needed to bring the key players in. Striker, number 10, midfielder, goalkeeper. He's not going to get the pre-season. And he's not going to get all those players. So, as much as I like Mbeumo and Cunha, it's a bit like going, look, it's Christmas dinner. You've got to get it right. And the dinner gets served up. The turkey's not cooked. If you eat it, you're going to get poisoned. There's no red cabbage. There's no bread sauce. There's no Brussels sprouts. There's no pigs in blanket. But the roast potatoes are nice, and so is the gravy. And so are the carrots. And that's what I feel like at the moment. Mbeumo and Cunha, really good signings. But they are 2 ingredients when there's about 6 missing. And you have to judge it as a whole. You have to. And at the moment, I think we'll do very well to have a better window than a 6, and it could be lower. Could be lower. I just can't see how it's going to be any better than that. Now, you're going to get we all know those people out there that are up the arse of the Glazers, PR merchants for them, but, they won't sit down opposite me or you and have a conversation about it because they're terrified. But I just say to them, what are you so confident about? Pre-season starts in 2 weeks. US tours in 4 weeks. Pre-season's absolutely crucial. Where are the players beyond Mbeumo and Cunha? And where are the exits? And as we've said before, it's essential that you get all those players in for pre-season like Liverpool have. But it's also essential that you don't take certain players on tour. Like Darwin Núñez is not going to go on tour with Liverpool, is he? They'll get rid of him because he's a problem. So they won't have him anywhere near it. Guarantee we're going to take some of the toxicity with us. I wanted to talk about this on a lighter note at the end. Where do you think Garnacho is going to end up? Now, on a positive note, the Nkunku story is a load of shite. We're not going to do that Nkunku deal. As bad as Man United are, we're not that bad. We're not going to do that. But where do you think Garnacho is going to end up? Because I haven't got a clue. But I just thought I'd mention this. I've always been told, and remember it was us on the morning after the Europa League final where I said 100% he's leaving. And people say, well, that was easy to say. Well, it wasn't easy to say. It wasn't easy to say 100% at that point because it wasn't 100%. It was 100%. He is going to go. But I've always been told, I probably won't get told anything now, considering the last couple of days. And my comment did get deleted from his Instagram, by the way, which I think is just typically childish, censoring a comment that wasn't even toxic. I understand when people delete abuse, but it was literally, you bang out of order for wearing that Villa shirt. So many people have supported you, and it's like shitting on them, really. He deleted that because his people around him are, I have no words. I just think it's incredible. But I was always told that Napoli, by the end of this month, was looking the most likely. I can't see that happening in 6 days. But Chelsea are odds on to sign Garnacho. With the bookmakers, the betting companies, Chelsea are universally odds on to sign Garnacho. Napoli are 7-1 and Aston Villa are 10-1. They're massive odds. So I don't know how that's going to work, but Chelsea apparently are odds on to sign Garnacho. Well, I wouldn't even have Chelsea in at 10-1. If their plan is to get Garnacho by swapping Nkunku, you got more chance of bloody winning the bloody World Cup, Chelsea. And you're not even in the World Cup. You're in the Club World Cup. So, yeah, I don't know why they're odds on. I don't know why they're odds on at all, really. It doesn't make any sense to me that Chelsea are going to sign him, especially when they're about to buy Gittins. I wouldn't. Very good question in the chat. Where would you like Garnacho to be? Look, as I said this morning, if you didn't watch the morning show, and I know some of you won't have done because of different time zones and work, Seb, who is 8, saw my clip on, I'm sure, hopefully some of you follow it, Goldbridge Hot Takes on Instagram. So basically, if I can play it, this is what Seb heard this morning.
But that is never okay. Garnacho wearing an Aston Villa shirt with Marcus Rashford on the back when he's a Manchester United player. Whether you're up for sale or you want to leave, that is bang out of order.
So Seb heard that and he said, what? Garnacho's been walking around in a Villa shirt? And I went, yeah. First he'd heard of it. And he went, he's betrayed us. It's like he doesn't know we like him. And I'm like, That's not a 45-year-old. That's an 8-year-old. So Garnacho and the people around him would do well to remove their head from the arse and listen to the room. Because I don't care whether you don't like Amorim or you don't like Man United, but many Man United fans have been very loyal to you. And it's just not, I just don't think it's a good look. I don't think it's a good look that there are many people out there that really like Garnacho and you've shat on them. And okay, you're going somewhere else now, but how long before you do it to them? You're just going to end up with a horrible reputation, behaving like a twat. So where do I want him to go? I'll find it very difficult seeing him in a Chelsea shirt because at the moment, I just don't particularly warm to him. Up until Saturday, I'd have wished him all the best. But I've got to be honest, the way I feel about him right now, in a Chelsea shirt, I don't think I'd be wishing him all the best. Villa, I won't be that bothered because I don't... Chelsea, I just think the Chelsea thing becomes... There'd have been a time when this wouldn't have happened, but we saw it with Sancho last year. We shouldn't be giving players to Chelsea that might bite us on the arse. But yeah, where would I want him to go? Atletico Madrid, Napoli, just out of the Premier League, really. I think that's where I'd rather he just left the Premier League and went away, because one thing about Man United that's always frustrated me is that if we go on the pre-season and we've got Rashford, Sancho, Garnacho, every question's going to be about them because the journalists are morons. You know what journalists I'm talking about. They're morons, and they will just talk about it all the time. Remember when Maguire didn't used to get picked by Ten Hag? Wasn't even a starting centre-back. Every press conference was a question about Maguire because they're morons. So if we have these players that used to play for Man United playing in the Premier League, it's just always about you used to play for Man United. And I don't think it helps us as a football club. So we need to be focused on ourselves, and we're never going to do that when we're reminded of our past. Hi, Mark. I would get rid of Onana. We need better, says Michael. United will pay Sancho off with some of his fee, says the Boffman. Good point. Good point. That's the most intelligent interpretation I've heard about why Sancho might go for money. So if we sold Sancho to Fenerbahce for 20 million and he went on 160 grand a week, and out of that 20 million we gave him 5, that might be why. You know what? I don't know how you find this out, but it's 100% true. You know when you say Man United sold such and such for 25 million? We don't. When you look at the books, when you look at the official books for Man United, it doesn't add up. It never seems to add up to what we reported we got. You can literally look at United's books. I think Swedish Rumble put it out there. Somebody did. You look at, because Man United's official accounts are public consuming. You can look at them. You can look at it, right? When you look at the incomings we've got last summer, and I can't remember who it was, McTominay, Wan-Bissaka, it doesn't add up to what was reported to what we actually received. And the reason for that is a lot of United players get a payoff bonus to go as part of the deal. This happens a lot. It was going to happen with Maguire because Maguire was on 190k a week to go to West Ham. They offered 30 million, but Maguire wouldn't go because he was on 190 grand a week, but West Ham were only going to pay him 100 grand a week. So Maguire basically went and said, I'll go to West Ham, but you can give me 5 million because I'm losing 100 grand a week by going to West Ham. And United said no. So that happened, but that does happen a lot. We get a fee and then we give the player money as well. We don't need Garnacho after this getting news today. We aren't getting him, says Banks. You still are favourites to get him. That's what I'm saying. I'm surprised. Said says, hi, it's my birthday today. Can I have a shout out? Happy birthday, mate. Also, what are your thoughts on Sesko coming to United? No. I know what Ben Jacobs is saying. I wouldn't rule it out if Arsenal get Gyokeres because Sesko is available. But what I've been talking about all show. Where's the money coming from to buy Sesko, who's more expensive? Emily says, we're not just slow, we're not very adaptable when it comes to transfers, and neither do we think out of the box, something Liverpool are brilliant at, says Emily. I think this is a great point as well. I don't think we're very adaptable at all. We put all our eggs in the Delap basket. What are we doing? Delap would have been our striker in May. It's now the end of June, and we don't even know who the striker is. Barada sits there talking about, we've got a plan. We've been working on it for months. We haven't got a bloody plan. We haven't got a plan. What's the beef between you and Stretford? Love your channel, mate, says Garrett T. I ain't got no beef with anyone, mate. I mean, we are the biggest and best. It might be that, but I haven't got any beef with anybody. Maybe a decade ago, but not today. No, not at all. Respect. It's tough. It's tough doing this. I actually think Bruno stayed because United and Amorim promised him transfers of elite players around him to compete. No, I don't think he did, Frank. I think Bruno stayed because he didn't fancy Saudi. Because he spent 2 weeks negotiating with them, thinking about it, and then ultimately I don't think he fancied Saudi at 31. So I don't think he stayed at Man United because they said they're going to buy transfers. Yeah. Okay, thanks everyone for tuning in. Absolute legends. 1 Inch Wonder says we're going to have an 8 out of 10 transfer window. You need to relax. Barada at the wheel. Mate, I'd love to come back and say that. And as I said, I've made a very big statement tonight. We won't have a striker for the US tour. It's 4 weeks ago. It's 4 weeks away. We're not even talking to a striker. On average, United take 5 to 6 weeks to get a deal done. We're already into week 4 for Mbermo, and it's not done. And that was meant to be quite quick. So 4 weeks till we're in the States. We're not taking a striker on tour. Not going to happen. Jimmy Jack, welcome to Members Club. Apparently, Mark, the add-ons was if you get top 4, Brentford found that unrealistic. Joe, good banter. True. Very, very true. Vlahovic now or Gyokeres at the end of August, says Tesardi. I shouldn't have to pick that, though, because that's shit. That is shit running of a football club. If the football club said to me, Vlahovic now or Gyokeres at the end of August, I'd say, well, you've failed. Because I'm going to take Gyokeres at the end of August because he's better. But you've failed me. You've failed me. Massively. Absolutely loved the show tonight. So many topics. So much discussion. Absolutely brilliant. Give yourself a tap on the back. One of the better shows in quite a while. I really enjoyed it. So good to have some deep and meaningful conversations. Don't forget to check out Manscaped. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. You use the code TUS15, get free worldwide delivery and 15% off. Thank you very much. Ashan, you've just got yourself blocked as well. I don't know why you're watching, mate. I'll call him Ashan, but I won't say what he said. I genuinely don't know why people watch when they just come in and say something negative. It really makes it just, I don't know. Jimmy Jack, legend, thank you very much for your super chat. 75% of you would still sign Gyokeres. 25% of you wouldn't. So the majority would. Please do leave a like on the video. Appreciate everybody as usual. 10 o'clock show tomorrow morning with me live as usual, unless something happens before. Make sure you've subscribed and got your notifications on, and I'll see you all in a bit. I've just ended the poll and not the stream. Imagine if I just left it running and you got to see what I did after the stream has ended. I mean, I had actually thought I'd ended it then, but then I realised I clicked end poll. So normally I end the show, read the live chat for a little bit, just for a bit of narcissism, as people say you're amazing. They don't. It's normally negative. I'll have a good big sip of water. Then I'll go and have a look on X. And I basically just take my top off and lather myself in. No, I don't really. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes you'd be bored because I'd just be looking at the computer screen, which is below the camera, going like that. I'm never going to go onto that sort of stuff. I mean, that would be... Would you get cancelled for that? If I thought I wasn't live, hypothetically, went onto a certain website and started doing something, would you get cancelled for that? I don't think you would. I think you'd be embarrassed. Probably get divorced. But, I mean, you're never going to get out of that, are you? Oh, well, I wasn't looking at a website. I was looking at pictures of you. When have you got pictures of me from? I'm phoning the police. I don't think you'd get cancelled for knocking one out on live TV. You'd get embarrassed. And you just have to have thick skin and say, okay, I did something everybody else. I mean, there's people actually doing it watching this. You know there is. It's a normal human trait. But you wouldn't get cancelled for it. You might want to cancel yourself for it and just never do anything again. You'd walk around the street and people would be going, "You're the person who got caught knocking one out on live TV on YouTube, aren't you?" But people have done a lot worse, and they're still making content. I mean, this is more of a thing for the Mark Goldbridge channel, but I mean, people have literally done a lot worse. You know. Yeah, definitely. Anyway, there we go. You wouldn't get cancelled for it, delusional unicorn. It's a normal human thing. You wouldn't be able to see anywhere. Well, actually, with me, you probably would, because from where my groin is to the top of that thing, so here, down there, you're talking about 10 inches, so you would actually see a few inches. Anyway, something to ponder on, definitely. Take care, everyone. I will click the end stream now. Probably should have done a few minutes ago. Speak to you all later. You probably would get a ban on YouTube, to be fair. It would certainly come with an age restriction. Take care, everyone. Speak to you in a bit.